Welcome back to Showtime College Football. I'm your host, Chase Davidson, alongside my co-host, Chase Sned, here for Championship Week. We have made it through the entire regular season, and now it's time to do our Championship Week predictions, our thoughts on the playoff rankings, our thoughts on the playoff in general, as that seems to be a hot topic of the 12-team playoff. Before it's even happened, it's already being disputed. Even more than the 4-team format. So we're going to give our thoughts on that, how we feel about the group of 5 possibly getting in a top 4 spot over the Big 12, and everything you guys wanted to hear. Just everything that's being talked about right now. There's some coaching changes, transfer portal. College football is very active. Championship week is always very exciting, and this year it seems extra exciting as most years the conference championship weeks is kind of like didn't matter as much, and this year there is some more relevant games. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Sned wasn't on for the last podcast, but now he's back. We were at an absence for the holidays, but I am very excited for this week. We got a big game tomorrow, the Mountain West championship game. Let's just dive right into it, Chase. For this week, Mountain West Championship, Friday night. Boise State versus number 20 UNLV, who is 10-2. Their only losses being to Boise State and to Syracuse in a tight one in Vegas. How are you feeling about the Rebels and the Broncos, Chase?
I'm actually really excited for this rematch because the first game was really close. I thought UNLV may do it for most of the game. And Genty, as we all know, he's Genty. He's been playing crazy even when injured, but I think that will play a part in this because they had a pretty early regular season game and he wasn't really hurt, and he is now, to where I'll be interested to see how he does. And UNLV's kind of been rolling since that loss. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I mean, good start Friday night for conference champ week.
Yeah.
And yeah, what are you thinking, Chase?
This is a really interesting game because it's a rematch. We don't always get rematches in games, especially when there's kind of a conference like this where there's no divisions anymore. It's more likely to happen to have these rematches, and so it's exciting to see. These are the two top teams. Colorado State for a minute was going to get in over UNLV, but I believe they lost to Fresno, which made it a little bit interesting. So UNLV's going back. I think UNLV's the better team. And yeah, they almost beat Boise State. They've only lost by a combined 8 points in their 2 losses, which Syracuse is now a ranked team. Boise State's a ranked team. So they've only lost to teams that are now in the top 25, and they've pretty much killed everybody else. They had a close game at Kansas. They won by a touchdown at Oregon State, but they've pretty much demolished everybody else. A good win at San Jose State. And I'm pretty confident in them because they also have the one of the best rush defenses in the country, which is I think why that Boise State game was so close. In rushing defense, I mean, they're top 15 in almost every stat. Their opponent yards per rush is 3.5 yards per rush, number 15 in the country. And of course, rush yards per game, they're around the same, number 14 in the country on rush yards per game allowed. So they've got a great defense. Their passing defense isn't so good, but with all due respect to Boise State, they kind of need to run the ball. They can't really pass the ball.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Any of you, anyone who's watched Boise State knows when Genty, the few times he is getting stopped on drives, their offense kind of can't do anything. The passing is definitely not as strong as the run game, like Chase said, to where if UNLV's rush defense is doing what it's supposed to, I think you know what? I'm taking UNLV. I'm taking the running Rebels. I'm taking the Rebels in this one. Give me UNLV. Upset.
So
they're in the playoff.
This game is interesting to think about because it does majorly change the playoff. Not just the fact that it's a win and in, it changes the seeding.
Because UNLV will probably take the 12.
They'll take the 12. Ohio State, Arizona State, Iowa State, they're going to be above UNLV. So I mean, they're automatically taking the 12 because unless I guess Army, if they were to convince because I think UNLV beating Boise State, Army could not catapult above UNLV. That would be the only chance for Army to get in.
Army would have to just kill Tulane.
I mean, I think if they beat Tulane 80-0, I don't think they're going to beat UNLV, go ahead of UNLV, who who have just beaten Boise, who is a much better team.
Number 10 team, yeah.
So Army's chances are that's basically Army's chances. The playoff committee just decides randomly that Army's better than UNLV, but UNLV's played a way harder schedule compared to Army. And so, I mean, yeah, that's the only chance the Army has to get in. So basically, what this does, if UNLV wins this game, it now allows the Big 12 and the 4 power conference teams, pretty much regardless of any conference championship result, this game decisively would give them the 12th spot if UNLV won. If Boise State wins, of course, which is what everyone thinks is going to happen, they're obviously the favorite. We'll have Boise State will probably get a top 4 seed, contrary to what we've been saying. But the playoff committee answered that question for us loud and clear when they ranked Arizona State at 15 and Iowa State at 16. That clearly the winner of that game will not pass Boise State, to my surprise. They're gonna Boise State, if they win, they are a top 4 seed. The Big 12 will not pass them up. Now, the Big 12 could get a top 4 seed. Well, I'm going to go in the weeds a little bit and come right back. The Big 12 could still get a top 4 seed if Clemson were to beat SMU. Then the Big 12 has I'd say a 50-50 chance of getting a top 4 seed. Boise State would get the 3. Arizona State would get the 4% per se. Clemson would get the auto bid at 12. And, we're going to talk about the playoff scenarios in a little bit about what SMU, Bama, all that stuff. But anyways, I'm taking UNLV. I'm going to get to it right now.
Let's go, baby.
I think UNLV, it's really hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah.
Beat a team twice. And I think Boise State, with all due respect, the reason that JT has run 40 carries a game is not because they're trying to load up a Heisman candidate. It's because they can't really pass the ball very well. Now, they've said otherwise. Obviously, you don't tell your guys that. You don't act like that. The Boise State receiver, I can't remember who it was. One of the receivers said, we don't pass the ball very much because they're just trying, or we don't do much because the other teams are just trying to stop JT from winning the Heisman. But I just don't think that they really have. I mean, I don't know, pass yards per game. They're number 70 in the country, so they're kind of right in the middle of the pack. But I don't think they can rely on that very easily. So
yeah,
and I think most of that's because when JT is cooking, that's when you can throw it deep, and they're not playing honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm no credit. I mean, I'm disrespecting the Broncos right now. I apologize. I'm disrespecting them, but I actually think UNLV is going to win that game. It's at Boise though, so it is a home.
At Boise, and Boise has a crazy home win streak right now. They look to extend. So I don't know. I'm interested. I'm actually really excited for this game. This is one of the ones I'm most excited for this weekend, just because of the implications it has. And
it has a very well potential of UNLV winning the game.
Yeah,
we're both picking them.
Where who would have thought we have UNLV in the playoff beginning of the season? So
yeah, midway through we had a thought, and then it seemed like they were kind of left for dead. And now they're back.
They're back
because they really should have beat Syracuse too. I mean, they should have beat Syracuse, and the fact that they should have themselves beat Syracuse.
Yeah,
they did not. They lost that game, and they flat out lost in overtime. They had plenty of chances to beat Syracuse, and they couldn't do it. They could be 11-1 right now as well. And Syracuse is a good team. They've proven that Syracuse has proven to be a great team. So
yeah, for sure. Anyway, I think that's enough about the Mountain West Championship. Let's go to the Big 12. Let's go to the next ranked matchup here. I mean, as much as I'd love to talk about Conference USA, American, and the MAC, there's just not as big of implications to these games.
We might get around to them if we got a chance. Sadly, the American Championship we thought would have implications, but it probably does not.
Yeah,
as we just talked about.
When they announced Army Tulane, both of them were like, yeah, these guys could easily be in the playoff.
They're both top 20 at that point.
There was me and Chase talked about it, and then I saw a couple posts about it the next day. It's like there's a chance the American Conference could jump the Big 12 for the 5th spot. To where
people were raving about that, but I was like, okay, well, Army has to beat Notre Dame first.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But Big 12, Iowa State, Arizona State. It's what we ended up with after a crazy 4-way tie in the end, just based off opponent record, head-to-head. I don't know. Tons of stuff because none of them played each other really, to where it's kind of wild.
No. Yeah, it was mainly due to winning percentage of opponents.
Yeah, which is wild because it's just insane. But Chase, what are your thoughts about the Big 12 championship game?
You know, I have a lot of thoughts about this game. Both these teams are similar in strength of schedule, both 60 to 70. So, I mean, their wins, I would say Arizona State's resume is better beating BYU. They've been more hot as of late. Iowa State's been more like BYU in the fact that Iowa State started off really hot and kind of laid a few eggs, lost a couple games they shouldn't have, and now they're sitting in the Big 12 championship. But they're not playing as good as Arizona State right now. The favorite is Arizona State for a reason. They're playing so good. I mean, they've won 5 straight, two of those being against ranked teams, Kansas State and BYU, and winning those in a decent fashion. I mean, playing very well, not much luck involved. I mean, they won pretty fair and square. And Iowa State, not so much a little bit. They've won a couple. They did beat Kansas State last week, so I guess they do have that on me. But it just feels like Iowa State doesn't have the power to outscore Arizona State.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. This one for me is like, I hate just to say like what everyone else is saying, but like for me, I
It's
don't know what I would point to say Iowa State can win this game.
it's ASU's game to lose. Just
That's what it feels like.
The way they've played these last few weeks. They're like South Carolina. They're one of the hottest teams right now.
Yeah.
And Arizona, I know it's a rivalry game, and Arizona isn't what we thought they'd be this year. But oh my gosh, Scatabo just ran 3 touchdowns in a row in the first quarter. And I was just like,
Right.
dang, like this will be tough for whoever they play.
Yeah, and I think
And
to add to it as well, Arizona State has a decent. They're a very heavy rush defense, and they're going
mhm,
to force Iowa State to throw the ball, which Iowa State isn't the greatest at. I'm not
yeah,
not not like they're a horrible passing team, but like they're going to force Rocco Beck to throw the ball,
yeah,
and so I feel like the matchup is really, and then also ISU, their rush defense is 94th in the country.
yeah.
It's just
I
like
was
it's just like the
looking at
matchup is
that.
just horrible
I was
for
just
Iowa
looking
for
at.
Iowa State. Like,
I
it's not like
mean,
they're just dramatically worse than Arizona State. They're ranked next to each other. So I do
yeah.
think Arizona State should be a bigger buffer, but not here nor there. But like, I think it's just a horrible matchup for the Cyclones.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. I just looked at the
Mhm.
Russian defense too. Iowa State is not the best, and we could
Oh,
see that every week. But I don't know. Iowa State, they looked pretty good last week against Kansas State.
they did.
They forced Avery Johnson to make bad throws. Their defense stepped up when they needed to late in the game. And yeah, that was in the freezing cold. Now they're in a dome. So
True.
definitely
They
something.
played a lot of games in the cold over there in Iowa. In
Yeah,
Iowa.
like every like the last half of the season's in the cold.
Yeah.
But I like ASU in this one. It's kind of obvious based on the way we're talking, but they're just playing a little too good for me right now. Iowa State, they haven't looked the best. Like Chase said, they've kind of escaped their games. And ASU just has so much momentum, and they're just proving everyone wrong. They're like,
They
you
have a
can tell
chip on
them,
their shoulder.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. Everyone predicted them like 4 wins this season. Kenny Dillingham's getting them fired up. He's like talking heat to the
Fiery.
media. Yeah, he's a fiery guy to where I like ASU in this one. And not enough people talk about how Scatabo, if he were to get injured, he'd be having a crazy season right now. And he's just kind of in the shadows of Genty.
Yeah, he's
But
actually on Heisman watch like towards the end. Yeah, if he wasn't injured,
like he's
even with
actually
even with that, he's kind of
he's
on like
having
9 or 10. He's hanging on the
yeah,
end of the list right now.
he's having an unreal season and no one really notices it. And he was still out a couple games. Like he's 8th in rushing yards, and I think he was out 1 or 2 games where he
Mhm.
played like 1.5 games. He was out the second half to where, yeah, it's just he's crazy. I love him. I think he's such a tank. Like he just runs through everyone. He lowers his head and
He
he's
can't go
nuts.
down. He is
Yeah,
so good at bouncing off of tackles. It
yeah,
is
he's not
crazy.
scared.
His
But
yards
yeah,
after contact.
I'm kind of just rambling right now. But yeah, I like ASU in this one. I'm kind of surprised the spread's only 2. I guess it is a conference championship, but I like
Yeah.
ASU by at least a touchdown.
I think it's one of those I feel like I don't know the stats, but I feel like the money in Vegas is heavy on ASU.
Yeah.
I think they've been a betting favorite recently. They've been covering spreads. But also like I think it's important to talk about how ASU now it's not crazy. I'm not gonna like go nuts on this. I told Chase this over dinner today, but I feel like the Big 12 is being majorly disrespected. I do have some bias, but like I feel like 15 for Arizona State is pretty low, especially being behind several 3-loss teams, and then also Miami, who if you were to put up Miami and Arizona State resumes blind, you would pick Arizona State's every single time. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, I think Miami's a little bit overranked as well. Do they deserve to go to the playoff? Maybe over these 3-loss SEC teams, but there's a reason the AP has Arizona State at 12 and the coaches have them at 13. I think it's not like Arizona State needs to be top 10, but like I think Arizona State's deserving of a top 12 rank right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not crazy. Again, it's not a crazy resume. We just talked about they've just kind of BYU, Kansas State, who they've beaten, but I mean they've beaten those teams in the last 3 weeks, and they haven't really gotten rewarded for it. And they just crushed Arizona. Again, not a great team, but they're like everything is going for them, and yet these super sluggish, respectfully, 4 teams ahead of them who are playing worse and have worse resumes to a degree, they're behind them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just especially eye test and like Chase said, resume. Just the way they're playing right now is just so much more dominant on both sides of the ball. But yeah, that's.
Yeah. We're gonna do a little bit of a rankings reaction because I've got some more thoughts on it. We didn't do our live this week, so we're gonna get to that towards the end. But let's I'm excited for that. But let's move forward with the picks. What we got next?
We got SEC. I'm just going by time, just at the time of day.
Also, by the way, we both picked ASU. If we didn't make that more clear.
Sun Devils.
ASU.
Forks up.
Forks up. I like ASU.
Yeah, fear the fork. Georgia, Texas rematch in the SEC championship. What do you, I have a lot of thoughts about this. Georgia, I don't know what to think about Georgia. They are number 5. You know, they're still Georgia. Georgia's Georgia, but man, these last few weeks, you know, Tennessee was a good win, but that Georgia Tech win I think most people were probably cheering for the Yellow Jackets in that one. But it's just the offensive line, man, it's gotten better, but Carson Beck just sometimes has no time to throw the ball.
Right.
And if Texas can apply the pressure, I think Texas will win this one. But I mean,
it's hard. They already played once this
season. They already played in Georgia got the ball inside the Texas 50 like every time. To where I really think this is kind of obvious, but I really think this game will be down to the turnover battle. If whoever's quarterback throws the least interceptions, that's like a no duh answer, but I really think that's what it will come down to, because I think talent wise, pretty equal across the board. Texas has stepped it up since that Georgia loss.
They have. And
it's just really if Texas can force Carson Beck to make bad throws, even if he doesn't throw an interception, just force 3 and outs a few times. I think Texas has this, but then same goes for Georgia. Quinn Ewers hasn't looked the best at times this season. There's some games I'm like, dang, this guy's one of the best QBs. Then there's some games I'm like, why is this dude playing? Put Arch in. So yeah. Chase, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I am getting this weird. When it was first, of course, like we knew Georgia was in. We saw Texas beating Texas A&M. I was like, all right, it's gonna be Georgia, Texas. Your initial thought is, well, Georgia already beat them. I know it's hard to beat a team twice, but Georgia, well, it's a weird game because Georgia handled them pretty well in Austin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that game, and we're not taking anything away from Georgia. We've already talked about this a million times. Like, Georgia won that game off of turnovers and capitalizing off of short fields. So, like, I'm not taking anything away, but it's almost like it's a blank slate. It's like, okay, they did play, and Georgia did capitalize really well, but I'm like, I feel like, okay, imagine Texas does convert on a 4th down. Okay, now what? Now, like, we haven't actually seen them like play that much to a degree. I'm not saying that like Georgia didn't earn that win or like we can't use it, but at the same time, it's like I don't know how. Had nothing to do with the resume. I'm just talking about just the matchup itself. I feel like we didn't actually see the full matchup because Texas kind of just like started out so slow and got a little shell shocked. That was their first big game. I guess they played at Michigan, which at that time was a big environment, but like I don't know. I feel like Texas has matured a lot.
I completely agree.
And their O-line's so strong. I feel like Texas is just so good all around, and they're way consistent. They're a lot more consistent than Georgia.
It's like that. Those turnovers were so just uncharacteristic of Texas based off this season.
Yeah.
Where I don't know. Like I know that's like such an obvious answer. Like, yeah, no duh, guys. Like if Texas didn't turn over as much as they did, they'd probably be closer.
Like, of course they would.
Yeah. Where, like I said, the turnover battle I think will be the most important in this game because there's some games teams turning over, but they'll force the other team to punt. To where it's like whatever. But
I mean, Texas literally has probably the best pass defense in the country.
yeah,
Like they're so good, and the rush defense is pretty good too. I mean, they have the if we're looking at rankings just based on pure stats, nothing to do with strength of schedule, just is not converted. They're number 13 in opponent rush yards per game and number 1 in opponent pass yards per game.
yeah.
So I mean that's a stout defense. And if Carson Beck decides to not get ready for this game or decides to do what he's been doing for some of this year, it's gonna be a bad day for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But I always forget that this game is freaking played an hour from Athens. And that
Yeah.
will definitely it's almost a home game for Georgia whenever they play in there. Now, there will be a lot of Texas fans. It's the first SEC championship. And so I don't think it'll have as much of an effect as it does usually.
Well, in
But
Texas, Texas is a brand nationwide. They travel well to where I think it will definitely be a lot more even fan wise. But
probably
it's in Georgia, man. It's in Georgia.
it's just annoying because Georgia plays in that stadium like 3 times a year. It seems like they play so much over there.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I'm taking Texas. I are you taking Texas? It sounds like you are
Mine
as well.
too.
Wow,
Man,
we're in line right now.
me and Chase are
And
locked
it's not
in.
even picking the most obvious ones too. I feel like Texas and UNLV. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been hard to be confident in Georgia just with how they've played, and Texas's defense is really good. And I kind
Mhm.
of want Texas to. I kind of now they will be snobs about it to go into the SEC and win first year will be kind of crazy. I mean, they'll never live that down. No one will. No one in the SEC will ever live that down.
I'd say it's the same with Oregon. So I mean, I can't really
It's
talk right
it's
now.
true.
So,
I feel like more so in the SEC because it's the
at
SEC
the SEC,
with
they did
reputation, like with the fact that Texas is coming in. No, you guys aren't going to survive in the
well because
SEC.
it's like everyone's like last year. Everyone's like, oh, if they're in the SEC, they'd be like 8-4. It's
Yeah,
like, well, they came in, kind of marched it down all your guys' throats. Granted, they didn't play the best SEC team this year,
yeah,
but Texas, they were just so consistent. They just like consistently just like shut down teams. I mean,
yeah.
Vandy was close, but like just looking at the scores, nothing's really close. They held every team besides Vanderbilt under 20.
Their defense is crazy.
Yeah, to where
Like great
besides
defense.
Vanderbilt and Georgia, obviously, they held every other team below 20 points, which is kind of
Well,
crazy.
and you also look like what was the thing that killed Georgia last week? Haynes King. What does Arch do? What does Arch
Run the
come in and
ball.
do?
He comes in and runs it.
What
It's,
Haynes King did. I mean, to a degree,
I
Haynes King has more experience, and I don't.
mean, he's a starter, but like, yeah, they
But still,
specifically have a package for Arch to come in and do option run plays to where,
yeah, and he's really fast and he's really good at it. And I mean, that killed Georgia last week. Now, I obviously think that Kirby Smart has one of the best stats in the country. They're going to adjust. They're going to fix problems. We're going to see how well they adjust. But I guarantee Texas is going to try it. First half, I bet first quarter we're going to see Quinn go out and Arch come in, and they're going to try a wild. Well, it's not a wildcat, but he's probably not passing the ball. So it's kind of like running a wildcat, like he's not going to pass the ball. So I mean, just like
yeah,
running some option plays, some triple options, see what he does. So I'm excited for that. I'm actually very excited for this game. Now we can talk about if we're talking about the championship here. What happens? Arizona State, Iowa State, we didn't talk about because that was pretty obvious. Winner gets in based on the Mountain West Championship, top 4 or number 12. What happens if what's the seeding if Texas loses or if Georgia loses?
it's
Does the margin of victory matter that
yeah,
much?
it's the thing. I guess I don't know. It depends so much on all the other games. I feel like,
It's true.
oh, I don't know. It's tough to say what will happen with
Yeah.
all this because like if it's a close game, Georgia will probably low key just stay unless SMU like kills Clemson.
Because what? So well,
But I
the
mean,
problem is that
if SMU kills Clemson, they'd be the 3 to where
yeah,
I don't know. But then the problem would be Penn State or Oregon would have to fall. I don't know.
and there's been this debate where it's like the 5 seed's actually the best seed to be in. So
Yeah,
if Georgia wins, then Texas gets the 5 seed, which is
yeah,
like not even a bad problem to have. Texas would automatically pretty much have that 5 seed,
yeah, and
unless
then
Oregon lost as well. Then they have the 6. But
yeah.
it's just hard. It's Georgia's going to have 3 losses now. That brings up the whole debate. Does a championship game can you be too penalized for a loss in a championship game? that's a whole nother debate. I
We
think you
can
can be
talk about
penalized
that.
very little.
We can talk about that when we get to SMU.
Yeah, I know that's the hot topic of the week
Yeah.
is really SMU Clemson.
So like because Georgia Texas, I really think this will be a close game. The spread 2.5, I love. I really think it will be a 3-point, 1 possession game for sure. Under 7, under 6.
I think Texas wins by 10. 10 to
Wow,
14.
really?
I think it's 2 possessions. I mean, it's still a close game, but I think like Texas
Maybe
like
pulled away.
ices it
I can
in
see
the
maybe
fourth
like
quarter.
10 or 11, but I think it will be close. But at that point, it's like I don't know how much you could really punish Georgia.
Yeah.
To where it's like it's an extra loss, but it's in the conference championship.
Yeah, it's not the same thing as Bama being 9-3. It's not the same.
No.
Not
Or
the same.
maybe I don't know. Maybe if Texas comes out and kills them, Georgia falls to like 10, 11.
Yeah. But Georgia's like I talked about this week, Georgia is 100% in. They cannot fall out of the playoff. It's just the seeding.
Yeah, I could maybe
I
see
think almost 100% insured a home field. I think they're or a bye if they win. But like I think if they lose, I think they're still 100% top 8. I don't think they even fall below 9.
Yeah,
Unless there's some I mean no, because even then because if SMU wins, they're still getting automatic bids. I mean I think Georgia's automatically a home field team either way.
I completely agree.
So that
All
game
right.
doesn't have too much effect because both those teams don't have much to lose.
Yeah.
And not much to gain either. Really, the SEC championship is probably the least important in terms of what the outcomes are pretty set.
I feel like the winner of the Big Ten, just because it's 1 and 3, I think the winner gets the 1 seed. I could be
Probably,
wrong.
I would say, yeah. If Texas beats Georgia, though, I think Texas would get the 1, Penn State 2.
Penn State 2. Yeah. So
it would be close. It'd be really close.
Either way, the SEC winner, the Big Ten winner, they'll be 1 and 2.
But then I guess that means Penn State just beat Oregon, who is very undisputed. The number, I don't know. Yeah, I think Texas would get the 1 though, but it'd be close. It'd be really
either
close.
way. Either way, yes, very little effect. I think Georgia. I mean, let's see here. Who would be bumped out? So Penn State, unless they get killed by Oregon, would probably still be above Georgia. Same with Notre Dame at that point, because Georgia would have another loss. To where Georgia would probably be what, the 7 seed?
Because Notre Dame right now is really hoping that Georgia and Penn State both lose, so Notre Dame gets the 5.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say
if Oregon or Texas lose, Notre Dame does not get the 5. They're gonna be the 6 or
let's
7.
Let's say Georgia and Penn State lose. I think Notre Dame will be the 5, Penn State 6, Georgia 7.
And we're saying, guys, by the way, we're saying seeds, not rank, because obviously Notre Dame would bump up a little bit in the rankings, but seed, they can't have a top 4 seed. Can't have a top 4 seed. So
Yep.
Anyways, all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the Big Ten championship.
Big Ten. I mean, everyone knows who I'm picking. That's obvious, but let's talk about it.
I'll go first. I'll let you finish off this. I'll let you finish off the Big Ten championship.
Oh yeah,
it's your team.
Yes. Go Ducks!
I'm excited. This is okay. Actually, since we talked 2 hours ago, Sned, I have gained a little bit more confidence in Penn State. A little bit, not much.
Come on now. Come on.
All I'm saying is that wait. Here's the thing. The entire year I've been doubting on Penn State, and just remember I was really low on Penn State. I'm still pretty low on. I'm not at all saying anything. I think you guys know who my pick's going to be. It'd be crazy for me to pick Penn State, which I am not. I'm going to be picking Oregon, but I'm going to explain. I do think it's interesting to see because Penn State so I read a few stats today, and it's just funny. It's almost more just a mental game because this stat almost doesn't actually do anything. But James Franklin is 1-13 against top 5 teams. We know that. That's the one that everyone talks about. But James Franklin, the same guy, is also 32-1 against teams not named Ohio State and Michigan. 32-1. That loss being Ole Miss last year. So I'm just saying. I mean, if you look at that stat, I mean, obviously Oregon is they probably would have lost to Oregon if they played every year, but it is funny to think about how James Franklin really doesn't lose unless it's Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah,
but that's obviously more of like a gibberish. Like if you're deciding who to bet on 50-50 for fun, you throw money on Penn State because he doesn't lose people not named Ohio State or Michigan. It's kind of just funny. But that did make me think. I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing. The problem with this game is that both teams, there's pressure on James Franklin to win this game, but there's also not. Both these teams are ensured a playoff spot, which frankly I'm not happy for because I feel like Penn State hasn't really earned it that much. They're 11-1. Everyone else has lost, but in a situation where people actually have like Bama and Georgia haven't dropped stupid games, and Ole Miss, Penn State should be out of this thing. Now they're not because they won 11-1. Like, I'm okay with them being in the playoff. I'm not saying that, but like them being at number 3 still makes me a little bit mad because they are not the number three team in the country, and I don't think they even deserve to be. I think there's a lot of teams better than Penn State. Anyways, I think Oregon's gonna have a field day. But that being said, I do think that the overwhelming confidence in Oregon could hurt them. Because this game is so obviously like, all right, yeah, Penn State stinks. They can't beat big teams. And Oregon is red hot, 12-0, best season in a long time. And so it's like, oh, I wonder if this game will be close. Just pure psychology, like pure mental. This game could be close.
That's where I will disagree with you, because just based off of player interviews and interviews with Dan Lanning tries to do, obviously players see it, but he tries to do everything he can to make sure that one next to Oregon's name just doesn't matter. Every week 0-0. Every week 0-0 with Dan Lanning. And I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but it's just, something's different this year. Dan's playing obviously with a chip on his shoulder after losing to Washington twice last year, especially in the Pac-12 championship. They would have been in the playoff if Oregon won. And
we all thought last year that Oregon could have won a few playoff games last year.
Yeah, to where, I mean, obviously I'm picking Oregon, taking the Ducks for sure, just because, I don't know, Dan, good teams find a way to win close games. And Oregon is battle tested this year. They've pulled out a few games. I mean, Penn State has as well. But and another thing,
both teams struggle against Wisconsin.
Both teams struggle against Wisconsin. But another thing is, a lot of people have talked about, like Oregon won't be able to score against Penn State. I'm like, well, Penn State's only touchdown against Ohio State was defensive, and Oregon put up 30-something points offensively against Ohio State.
Well, I think it's way more. I think it's way more like, I don't think Penn State can score on Oregon. I think it's a good balance between Oregon offense, Penn State defense. I think it's way more the other side. Like,
and don't get me wrong, like Oregon,
Penn State can't even get in the end zone.
We've put up points week after week, but that defense is the reason we've won games. It was the reason we won all of our close games. All of our close games, that's the reason we won. Our defense showed up when it needed to where, obviously, like I said, I'm taking Oregon. 3.5 is crazy in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe
I'm surprised the spread is that even.
Maybe I'll eat my words, but I got Oregon by double digits.
I am very surprised. I'm surprised. It
is part of me is kind of like, dang, like we'll be playing probably like Notre Dame or Texas or even Penn State again in the second round, because they'll probably get the 5 seed. I mean, I'd be fine with Notre Dame and Penn State again, but like,
well, Texas, actually, Notre Dame would probably get the 5 seed over them.
Yeah, to where probably Notre Dame.
But you could rematch. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, to where, I mean, shoot, I'd be fine with that. I can't lie.
It's weird. That's the main thing people are saying. I know the playoff hasn't even happened yet, and that's my thing against those arguments. People are already like all around, like almost everybody's like, actually, this 12-team playoff is stupid. A lot of people say, like the auto bid, especially, because in thinking, I remember when we talked about this last year, literally in one of the first podcasts, we're like, 12-team playoff, baby. Like in one of the first episodes, we were like, wow, we literally noticed the 5 seed's actually pretty nice. Yeah. Immediately we noticed that.
Yeah. To where, as an Oregon fan, and I think a lot of people have started to notice this. It's like it should be structured like the NFL, where the lowest seed that wins the first round plays the number 1 team.
Right. It's like adjust by the whoever wins the games.
Where you get rewarded for being the number 1 team, because it's kind of like
you're 100% insured the worst team to play.
It's like March Madness. If it were to be a perfect bracket, the 4 would play the 5. You know what I'm saying? The 8 would play the 1. But I don't know. That's my opinion. But I also think I can't really complain. It's how it's been. It's what we knew.
That does truly reward the top 4. Is like, yeah. I actually haven't heard the idea for the wild card. I like that idea too. I think personally, most football fans are open to it.
Joel Klatt has talked about it a lot. I think that'd be really good for the playoffs, just because you're just rewarding the number 1 team to what it should be, because The number one team playing probably Texas or Notre Dame, which is a top 2 team. You're pretty much having the 1-2 play in the second round.
Imagine Texas loses. If Texas loses, they're probably the 5. Maybe Notre Dame, but I feel like Texas should still be above Notre Dame. Like, there's no way. Anyways, like it's probably going to be Texas.
Well, either way, if it's Notre Dame or Texas, that'd be a top 5 matchup already.
Huge matchup in the second round. And then meanwhile, you have SMU or Boise playing Indiana or Tennessee, which is like obviously it's a good game, but like,
or you have, let's say you have
top 10.
You have Boise State playing, like you said, like SMU or Indiana right now.
They're playing the 7 or 11 or 8, 9, and it's like, it's interesting.
Like as an Oregon fan, obviously I am biased, but I would much rather play Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, or Bama in our first game of the playoff.
Wait. We had a wrong. I just realized we've been talking about the wrong way. The 5 doesn't play the 1.
Yeah, it does.
No,
it's the 8 and 9.
It's the 8 and 9, which is still okay. I forgot about that. What am I thinking? It's because the 5. It's actually more the 5 seed gets the huge advantage because of the 5 seed.
Everyone,
just forget what we just said.
But still, even the 8, 9,
it's more the fact that the 5 seed has a huge advantage.
Yeah,
because the 5 seeds past the playoff is play the 12 team, play the team that was ranked 19th and in the 12 spot, play the Clemson, play the Arizona State. Okay, you're Texas. You're gonna play Arizona State. Then you're gonna go play SMU or Boise State in a neutral location. Then you're gonna go play the winner of the
one bracket.
There you go. Then you meet the
1, 8, and 9.
Yeah, the 1 or
you got it mixed up. I had it mixed up in my head.
Yeah, so. I don't know why I was thinking that too. I don't know why I was thinking that. It's not that bad. Yeah, okay. It's not the greatest, but it's more the 5 seed has a huge advantage. Like the 5 seed's almost the best place.
Yeah, but the committee has said if a team loses, they probably won't be moved around too much to where, chances are Oregon won't have, or whoever's the 1 won't have too bad of a matchup for them. But still, I mean, it's the playoff. Everyone's there.
I will say, to rebuke my own claims, or even just to play devil's advocate here, I think it is important. People are just like shirking off the fact that it's like, well, the 5 is. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. Like I haven't even really said what my stance is, but like people are saying, well, because of auto bids, the 5 has to play the 12, then the 4, and you're assuming that the 12 and the 4 in an age of parity are easy. Like it's like so much easier. It's like there's not a huge difference. Like there's a little bit different. There's a difference, obviously, but there's not a huge difference, especially right now in college football this year, between the 10 and the 12 and the 7 and the 8. It's not like huge like years previous.
Yeah.
So like we're also assuming that like it's going to be this horrible UNLV team or this super easy Arizona State. I think Arizona State could have a chance to beat someone top tier. I don't know.
Too used to not last year because there's pretty good parity
last year. Was good parity, yeah.
But like
years previous,
first 7, 8 years of the college football playoff, the top 4, and even
sometimes 4 teams. I mean, it's 4.
Even
3 or 4
sometimes
teams.
just the difference between 1 and the 4 was just so big.
Well, yeah, because it was Cincinnati or Washington or Notre Dame. Yeah, they were just not there.
Yeah, to where it's just like I think that's what people are thinking. But I think this year, honestly, I would not be surprised if first round all of like the lower seeds won. Just because.
Watch this. I mean, imagine this. Imagine this. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating for both sides here. When people are just saying like they're getting all mad at the playoff, hasn't even happened yet. Here's just why I'm also saying like stop saying these super black and white sentences like this playoff system is flawed. You haven't even seen it. Imagine Arizona State walks in there, beats the 5, and then plays the 4 and wins. Like you're gonna shut the crap up right after that. You're gonna shut up really quick and be like, oh, never mind, it's fine. Like I'm just saying that. Like it's being the 5 seed. We talked about it's a good spot, but even imagine they walk in there and it's Clemson, and Clemson gets their act together and has the talent to beat Georgia. I mean, well, we already saw that they did not. But they have the talent to beat Notre Dame. I think Clemson could beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Or Penn State. Maybe not Georgia because we've already seen it and it was so bad. But I think that like they could match up against them and beat them. So like everyone's assuming this 12 team's gonna suck.
I'm really just like throwing Notre Dame under the bus here. But I really think because Notre Dame pretty much has secured the 5 spot. It's kind of like they've pretty much
we're talking about it like there's options, but it really is probably the 5.
Because chances are if Penn State or I mean, if Oregon loses, maybe they'll stay above Notre Dame.
Well, yeah, it'd have to be Oregon. Even
But
Texas would be
I think
50-50. But Oregon is the
yeah,
only way they don't get it.
yeah, but chances are the Big Ten and SEC will be 6-7 for the loser, in my
Probably. Yeah.
opinion.
We're assuming Penn State, Georgia.
Yeah, to where
Favorites.
I really think that whoever the 12 is beats Notre Dame. I really do.
That'd be
Then
fun.
again,
Well, it depends on who the 12 is. If the
going
12 is
into
UNLV, I don't know. But if it's
going into
Clemson,
Notre Dame,
Clemson could beat Notre Dame right now.
Well, and the thing is, Notre Dame posted a picture today, and it was just snow all over their stadium and field, to where it's crazy. That's going to play such a huge factor.
That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, to where I
That's
hope
gonna be cool.
I hope we have some snow games. I hope we have like Clemson.
I know.
Going up.
It's gonna create chaos. You're gonna have a team who's not used to it. You're gonna have a team from the South that's like doesn't even train for that. And then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, "Oh crap! I got to play in Bloomington, Indiana right now."
Yeah.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
guys, you ever seen snow before? It's like,
but we got one more.
Yeah, let's get to this game.
Let's jump. The one with the most implications, and we can talk about whatever. SMU Clemson.
Well, and before we talk about summing up the whole thing, I have not taken my opinion on whether or not we're going to talk about it after. On whether or not the playoff is like what I think about the 12 team right now. I'm going to talk about that after.
Yeah.
Don't take any. I have not said anything definitive that I believe yet.
All right. SMU Clemson.
Ooh.
I am very proud of myself for saying that SMU is a dark horse for the ACC. I've said that every week, but I'm just reminding y'all that I did say that. I'm taking the Pony Express. I'll just start with that. SMU is just playing so good right now. They're putting up points after points. The last 2 weeks, they've just killed California and Virginia. And like I said, they're putting up insane points every week, to where I do like SMU in this one. And Clemson has looked very beatable. I mean, obviously they started with a huge loss, but these last few weeks they've kind of struggled, except against the Citadel, obviously. But South Carolina, the running quarterback Sellers was able to do what he needed to. And what does SMU have?
That's a really good point.
A running quarterback, to where I really do think SMU pulls it out, and then we have SMU as like a 3 seed in the playoff. I love it so much. I can't stop smiling thinking about it. I think it's the funniest thing.
It is cool.
Pony Express all the way, mainly just because I saw how the run offense worked against Clemson's defense. I mean, I don't know. Dabo, he's a good coach. As much as I don't like him, he'll make adjustments, but I don't know. SMU's like the Cinderella in the March Madness. It's like, it's going to happen. SMU's sweet. Now, actually, I'll let Chase say, and then I'll state what I think should happen even if they do lose. What happens?
Yeah, let's get to it. Let's talk about the game first. I know I want to say so many things. Let's talk about the game first. Just put it in the field of keep on the field. Keep our words on the field, and then we'll broaden to playoff implications.
Yes.
So I do want to say something first. I do believe in SMU quite a bit. Okay, here's the thing. When you say SMU, when you say they're really good, you rely on eye test. Like, their resume is good, but the resume isn't really what you're standing on. You're saying, hey, they look amazing. When they play, they dominate. They've dominated everybody. Duke was their only like close game, and they won. They found a way to win. And that was like 6 weeks ago. And they've just dominated everybody. And so the thing that there is a rebuttal, though. It's hard because Clemson, I'm saying just SMU. When you compare it to Clemson, it's different because they have some major mistakes that I think are in the way. But SMU has a 75th ranked strength of schedule. That 11-1 is about what Indiana's 11-1 is, to a degree, a little bit better. They're actually below Indiana in strength of schedule because Indiana played at Ohio State. But I'm just saying, wins-wise, their wins, they're 75th. There are not too many Power 5 teams below SMU. There's like 2. I'm looking at the list right now. There's like 2 Power 5 teams. North Carolina, that's the only one I can find right now that's below SMU. It's a Power 5 team. Boise State, if we want to count them. That's it. So SMU pretty much had the easiest Power 5 schedule you could have. That being said, the eye test is what we're leaning on. I'm just putting that out there. That's not like they have this crazy resume.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
It's more of just I'm adding context. So SMU, it's not that clean cut of like SMU. Oh my gosh, they're so much better. Clemson's had a little bit of a tougher schedule, but the thing is, Anytime Clemson's played anybody top 40, they've lost. They haven't beaten anybody. Clemson hasn't beaten anybody.
Yeah.
They've kind of sucked when they've played anybody who's relevant. I don't have the exact set of bowl eligible teams they've beaten, but their best win is at Pitt by 4.
I mean, their best wins are probably Pitt, Virginia Tech. Let's see here.
And again, this is Pitt and Virginia Tech. Virginia, but we've already talked about their schedule before, and it's just like it's pretty weak. I mean, their strength of record is probably one of the worst strength of record. Their strength of schedule is a little bit better because number 1 Georgia, South Carolina, but like they just lost at home to South Carolina. They don't lose at home very often. They just lost at home twice this year. And by the way, so they lost number 1 Georgia 34-3, first game of the year. They lost to Louisville at home by 12, and they just barely lost to South Carolina. Hours later, getting the bid because Miami lost. So Clemson, not like they shouldn't be here, but they really didn't really earn the right to be here. And the fact that it's like they won, so they get to go. They got here because Miami lost, and Miami lost their bid because Miami was also somewhat fraudulent. So, okay, now all that's out of the way. That's one thing I want to talk about, how it's like both these teams have really weak resumes overall relative to the other 15 teams in playoff conversations. Like, you could argue that like UNLV's strength of schedule and their record is almost better than these two teams to a degree. Same as Boise. But SMU looks really good when they play. And when they play, they are so fun to watch. The college ball fan in me wants SMU to win and to be in the playoff because it's just fun. And I want them to prove people wrong. The Pony Express. The Pony Express. And frankly, if they had things figured out, I mean, I know what happened, but they could have beat BYU. They could be 12-0. Yeah. This team is really good. And so I'm taking SMU. Wow. I don't quite believe in Clemson. However, the weird thing for me is you guys know what I feel about Vegas rankings and like how I feel about that. I'm not saying Clemson's better than SMU. I think SMU will match up and beat Clemson. But like, if you're going to take Clemson at 12 and SMU at a 7 seed, I'm actually more confident for Clemson to upset Notre Dame than I would be SMU, just because Clemson has like talent-wise, they have the stars. They have the 4 and 5 stars on all their linemen, their D linemen. They're big. So that being said, I don't know how much SMU can do in the playoff, but I think they're going to beat Clemson.
Yeah. Now, all right, we both pick SMU, and to wrap up here, we've been rambling here for a while now.
Late in the season, there's a lot to ramble about.
Now, we've kind of stated our opinion about like the top half of the playoff. Let's say Clemson wins. Okay, they knock off 8 SMU. Clemson will probably take the 11 or 12 spot, depending on if you keep SMU in or not. Now,
this is the big debate right now. This is the one.
Personally, this is what I think happens. So, now,
by the way, SMU's at 8, Clemson's at 17.
The top
SMU
half
is at 8.
So let's say it's, whatever, Big Ten champ, SEC champ, then Boise State at 3. And then at this point, ASU would be probably the 4. Okay.
Or favorites.
ASU, Iowa State, Big 12 4. The fifth one, for me personally, I have Clemson 11, and then but then you have an ASU jump in there, so that's the 12 teams. Dang, this is crazy.
So, remember Clemson is a bid stealer.
Yeah.
If they win, they steal a bid, and it could be SMU's, but it's probably going to be Bama's or It shouldn't be SMU's.
Here we go. I think Clemson 11, SMU 12. That's what I think it should be.
I actually haven't heard. That's interesting. So, okay, I'll say this definitively.
I think so many people are just thinking that fifth one has to be the 12, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. You're right, and I was doing that. You're right.
I think.
Well, actually, yeah. If they're close enough, the head-to-head should matter.
You cannot punish SMU for having an extra. I mean, if they get killed, throw them out, whatever. But if it's a close game, like one possession game, and it's like whatever, like 34-31, 34-27. Okay, just hypothetically.
Okay.
I'd put Clemson at the 11 and SMU at the 12.
Yeah.
You have to. You can't punish a team who has only 1 loss and 2 losses. You can't keep Miami or Bama above them when they're not even in their conference championship, especially
Miami, who missed the same.
Especially Miami.
Yeah,
Cam Ward, you can come at me, Cam Ward. I don't even care. You're gone, bro. I'm sorry. Unless Boise State, unless everyone loses, you're done. So
Yeah, I feel like the general public would agree with that, and I think the playoff committee does too. I mean, I think that
they did say
it
conference champs won't be moved around a ton despite win or loss. To where I'm
yeah.
hoping they keep that true. To where I mean, obviously respect the head-to-head, put Clemson above SMU, but I really think that's
And
what it should.
it's a different committee every year, so you can't. That's why that's one thing you have to make sure not to do because you'd love to say, well, TCU when they lost to Kansas State 2022, they were undefeated. They lost to Kansas State. Did they get moved out? No, and they could have because their strength of schedule wasn't that great. Like they were kind of like that Indiana kind of team. Like no one respected them, and they didn't move it out. But it's a different committee. It's almost completely different people. So
Yeah,
you can't use that as like a reasoning. Oh, they'll stay in. So I'm just ruling that out. But I think that the committee does respect a conference championship game is an earned game. You can only go up so much or down so much from a
well,
conference championship game.
like it's an extra game that the
You earned
rest
it. You shouldn't
that
be punished at least too severely from earning an extra game by
yes,
doing well.
that 16 of the top 25 didn't earn.
Yep.
To where
I mean,
that's
look
my
at Indiana. Indiana's a really weird one because they're just like in a horror. They're going to make it because there's not enough games to be played to move them around.
yeah
And it's a weird. If Indiana was playing in the Big Ten championship, they would be out if they lost. They would probably be out
yeah
because they might get blown out. Now, I'm all in favor of Indiana being in because it's hilarious and I love it, and it's just college football. I pray they can make a close game happen. I don't know, but it's funny how I'm not at all against them being in as a fan, but as an analyst, it is a little hard to have them taking up a spot. I feel like they're taking up a big spot when I feel like there's teams that are better than them, but they've
yeah
deserved it. They 11-1. So it's just weird because SMU, I can say definitively, and I think the committee will also honor this. I don't think it's too much of a debate, actually. I think SMU is still in, even if they lose by 10, 20. I think they're still in. I think that's when they fought on the 12. I think if they lose by 3, they're still 9, 10. I think they're still right there.
yeah yeah
Because frankly, Indiana probably shouldn't move above them. Boise State probably not. Maybe.
I completely agree. But I think we got our opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people are debating surprisingly the SEC spots and Miami. That's the 4 most disputed spots, 11 through 14. Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, South Carolina. This is heavily the
Well,
most debated,
the
even more
thing
than
is,
SMU. It feels
depending
like.
on who wins the championship, all 4 will be out. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
no, I don't know why it's such a huge. It's like more like, all right,
You'd maybe only get one of those 4, only one.
here's my thing. I hate when fans are saying like this team none of them deserve to be in. No, they don't. They're gonna get a crumb of a bid if they do get one. It's gonna be like here's a little pick me. Like we're gonna put one bid to one lucky homeless team out there. Like it's a handout to pot. Like these teams are like, no, I deserve it. I'm like, none of you deserve it.
Yeah.
No, you lost the games you were supposed to win. None of
Yeah.
you in your conference championship game. You all messed up. So like,
Yep.
none of you deserve to be in it. If one of you gets in, be grateful and shut up.
Yeah. Completely agree.
It's like
That's
no,
well
you don't
stated.
have a case. You're 3 losses. You have 3 losses. You lost to Oklahoma by 20 points.
Yep.
You can't be mad. Miami, you lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Not bad Syracuse, but like you lost to them.
Yeah.
You lost. And you
Yeah.
also didn't beat anybody good, and you also had way too close of games. Ole Miss, you lost. You lost the game you were supposed. If you like you can't.
If you beat Florida, Ole Miss would be in. If they beat
Yes,
Florida,
all you had to do was beat Florida, who is playing well, but all you had to do was beat Florida.
Bama, if you didn't get ran through by Oklahoma, 6-6 Oklahoma, you'd be in.
I know it's easy for us to say this because like we didn't play the games, we didn't coach the games, but like you can't, even as a fan, none of you deserve it. You can't use the word deserve. You can say, I think we should be in there if this happens. Like, okay, yeah, like you can make a case for that, but like the minute people use the word deserve, I'm like, no.
My favorite is
A
when
team like Boise deserves it. A team like Indiana deserves it. SMU deserves because they won the games they were supposed to.
Yeah. Well, I love seeing
They didn't lose.
They're like, we beat most of these top 12 teams, Mike. Well, you didn't in the regular season, so
Yeah, you didn't.
Ones,
It's like Alabama, like we would kill Indiana. Well, you didn't beat Vandy or Oklahoma, so sucks, doesn't it? Like you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't beat the. You obviously can't win games you're supposed to win, so that's why you're not in.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Agree.
That's why I hate when people use that as a definitive metric. You can use it in talking and as a small metric, but like you can't say this team should get over this team because they would beat them. Well, you didn't. If you did beat the teams you were supposed to, you'd be in. Wouldn't even have the conversation.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a fiery rant.
There's our
both of
rant.
us.
We're excited. Playoffs
I'm
will
really
be
excited.
exciting. There's a good chance, I'm just looking at the rankings right now, kind of moving everything around in my head. Ohio State, Tennessee, the 8-9 game first round will be fun.
I think. Do you think SMU could bump up if they beat Clemson by a lot? Do you think they bump up above Tennessee or Ohio State?
Well, if they
I have an opinion on this.
If they win, they'll have the 3. So yes,
I guess that's true. I guess that doesn't really matter too much because I think they should just in rankings. I think just out of principle, I think SMU, who would just beat Clemson, and especially if they beat them bad,
in principle, yeah,
2 lost Tennessee or 2 lost Ohio State. I mean, to SMU, their loss is much better than those guys' losses.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see what happens this Saturday. I hope you all enjoy conference championship week. Ohio State fans, I hope you enjoy it from your couch, despite all the talking you guys did this year. Yeah, go Ducks.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Solid pod. I mean, it's just like there's a lot happening. It's alive and well. It does get hard late season to talk about football for this long sometimes, but I'm fired up again.
Yeah, we could talk about it for probably another hour. Me and Chase have a lot of opinions about everything.
We usually have to restrain ourselves. Usually the hour I look at, I'm like,
I have to hold myself back from like eating my computer. Just going crazy on it.
Oh, yeah, I hear a lot of crap out there. I hear a lot of crap that I disagree with, and then I spit it all out. Here.
Yeah,
and you guys listen to it on your free time.
Yeah, you guys still, but yeah,
I do wish South Carolina had a chance, but what matters the most in football? Head to head. And I'm sorry, the teams you're competing against for a spot beat you.
Yep.
I love South Carolina, but you can't put them in. And I don't think the committee will either. But you can't say they're playing better than Bama or Ole Miss right now. They probably are and might be playing better than Bama or Ole Miss.
But they lost.
You lost to them. The greatest metric of all time is the game itself. So you lost. I hate to say it, Gamecock fans. You did have a chance. You did have a chance.
You made it fun.
You made it really fun because we talked about you as a funny joke when you were ranked 24. We had you guys ranked for weeks. Like they could run if they ran the table, went 9-3. If there was enough craziness, maybe. And there was a lot of craziness, and they're going to be just left out.
Yep.
Just barely. But there could be a regular season 3-loss team in the playoff. There probably will be with Georgia. Probably. Yeah. I mean, we're assuming Georgia's going to lose, but that they could very well beat Texas. But there's a good chance that there's a 3-loss team counting conference championships in the playoff, which is wild. If Alabama sneaks in, if all the favorites win, I believe Alabama is in. If all the favorites win, if everything just goes smoothly.
Which I don't agree with, but whatever.
Yeah, which is I feel like to a degree, it's hard because I feel like when you look down, it's like, well, Miami's below them. I don't think Miami deserves it either. I think Ole Miss deserves it much more than Bama. I think Ole Miss, there's no head-to-head, so you can debate it all you want. I think Ole Miss has better wins, not as bad of losses to a degree. I think Ole Miss is a much better team. I think Ole Miss should be in 11, Bama at 13.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people mad about that. A lot of people saying brand bias between Bama and Ole Miss. Because the South Carolina fans, you have nowhere to reason, head-to-head. It's just Ole Miss versus Bama. And the Miami fans, I just don't. Your resume is so bad. It's not like you have bad losses but good wins. You have bad losses and no wins.
And they dropped 2 of the last 3. They're just playing bad right now.
Yeah, and they're not playing good right now. And that also factors power rating factors into it.
You guys had such controversial things back-to-back weeks with Virginia Tech and California. I'm sorry, but
and that adds to it. And we're not using that as the only metric. It just adds onto the pile of like.
Every
I don't think this team deserves it.
Lots of analysts have said that. So
yeah, honestly, I go down the list and it's like, okay, if Bama doesn't get in, it should be Ole Miss. If not Ole Miss, it needs to be BYU, Iowa State, Clemson. I mean, it's like 2-loss teams should get in over 3-loss teams to a degree. But
yeah. Anyways, wow, what a pod. Pod.
Seriously, guys. Anyways, 1 hour right here. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll be back next week to react to.
Oh yeah, and we'll give our final
this
final
year. Selection.
Wait, is selection? Is it on a Sunday?
Yeah, it's this Sunday.
So it's this. Okay, Because it's not a Tuesday night anymore.
And we'll be doing. They have like March Madness on ESPN Fantasy. They have like a playoff pick'em where you pick your bracket. We'll post it on our Instagram in the channel, so everyone join. We want you guys to join. Maybe do a little giveaway for the winner. So
maybe a shirt, something cool, Christmas gift from us.
Yeah, dude,
be fun.
Anyway.
Man, I can't wait for an upset to happen in the playoff. There's gonna be something that's gonna shut everybody up because Indiana is gonna beat Georgia in round 1. So in Bloomington, Indiana.
Well,
or actually, it would be in probably Sanford, but
probably in Atlanta. Yeah, it'd be in Athens.
It'd be so funny. I mean, if any of those upsets happen, it'd be so funny. I mean, there's a good chance that you've got Boise State playing in the Fiesta Bowl versus
Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Penn State.
It'd be Oregon. Man, it'd be crazy. And I think to a degree, Boise State has a chance because if a team can't stop the rush. We're going to talk about this obviously next week, guys. This is more of a next week topic, but like Boise State's built for one offense and one defense. So like if there's a weak point, if there's a bad rushing defense, then like, oh gosh, like Boise State could win a couple games. If it comes down to Oregon or Penn State, I don't know, maybe they might stop the rush and so it stop Boise State. But like, Boise State's a matchup away from like winning a game in the playoff, possibly.
It's true.
Like it's not that crazy. Like Janty's so good that he could overcome some talent.
Yeah.
On
imagine Arizona State, Boise State, second round, just battle of the running backs.
Oh, obviously Scadabo versus Genty.
And we have Arizona State or Boise State in the Final Four. Who would have thought, man? Wow.
That'd be crazy. And SMU is like the winner plays SMU. Like, bro, what reality is this, bro?
That'd be beautiful. I'd love that.
That'd be so fun. And then like the top side of the bracket is just all these powerhouses like Texas, Oregon, Georgia, just like super crowded.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like there's gonna be, it's gonna be an even spread. It's not gonna be like the 5 SEC team spread we thought might happen. It's gonna be fairly even. I mean, as of right now, it looks like it's gonna be
4 Big Ten, independent, and then we'll have probably 3 to 4 SEC, depending if Bama gets in or not.
2 ACC. If Clemson wins, it's 2 ACC.
And if not,
push Bama out.
Yeah, and then if not, 1 ACC, 1 Mountain West. So
1 Big 12.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it's not quite. We did not expect the Big 12 to have the leading amount of teams, which they probably will. We did not expect that one.
Yeah.
So kind of crazy, y'all. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Show
time.
College football.
Go Ducks.
I'm excited to watch Boise.
Join the flock. UNLV. Go Ducks.
Boise UNLV tonight. We're posting this in the morning. Obviously, tonight is Boise State UNLV, and what is it? MAC championships too. What's going on? What's going on tonight?
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, Tulane Army. Hey, I mean that doesn't mean much, but it's still a big game. If Army goes to 11-1, that'd be pretty sweet. Well, no, 12-1 if they beat Navy. That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be pretty dope.
We also got Western Kentucky versus Jacksonville State. Both of them 8-4, heading to the
crazy
CUSA championship. So
crazy,
a lot on the line. I was sad that the lower, other than the American, the lower tier conferences didn't produce a 10-win team because even the MAC 9-3 versus 8-4. Oh, I guess we had Louisiana 10-2. Not too bad in the Sun Belt. And Marshall, hey, we were kind of hating on Marshall. Marshall's 9-3.
Go Herd.
Because last time I looked, they started off like 3. Yeah, they started off 3-3, and so I was kind of like, whatever.
All right, dude. We already ended the podcast. Come on now.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys later.